So here's the deal. I do a lot of video editing, and I have huge goals in life to do it more and more. I love shooting and editing videos, and it's just that simple. And now, with everything going on, there has never been a better time to learn a new piece of software. This video is my initial impressions and discussion on why I might actually switch to DaVinci Resolve.
Because up until now, it was rather hard to find the time and justify it, but you know. What's going on, guys? Jake Felzien here, back with another video. Just, trapped at home. A quick check on the quarantine beard that the wife is asking for. It looks just as terrible as ever, but guys, just trying to make the most out of this situation. But speaking of this situation that we're all going through, trying to learn new things, trying to make the most of it. One thing that I am thinking about doing, guys, is switching to DaVinci Resolve. Now, spoiler alert, last video was edited with DaVinci Resolve, and I liked it a lot. And today I just want to talk about some things that I'm seeing other people. I've been watching a ton of tutorials. Favorite guy right now to watch is Fenn. I'll link him down below if you're trying to think about switching to Resolve and you want to learn how to do the color grading, the effects, all the different buttons. If something's new and unfamiliar to you, he's got you covered, so go check him out. But I've been binging all of his videos and just kind of going, man, I wonder if I could do Resolve. And then I did the last video, and today I just want to do kind of a first little impressions, talking about the things that really stand out to me and ultimately why I want to switch. Now, a quick little flare of context. I have been primarily a Final Cut editor for those of you who are new to the channel, and I love it. I love it so much. It's one of my favorite. Final Cut is probably the reason I love editing so much, because it just, I don't know, there's something about, I'm sure it's personal, but just the way that it works, how smooth, the UI, all of that. I love editing in Final Cut, and I gotta say, Resolve definitely feels a little clunkier to me personally than Final Cut, but there's so many new tools and other things that I really like, and that's what we're going to talk about today, that I think it might be worth it to switch. And again, in times like these, I'm trying to keep the brain sharp. We're not able to go outside and go do all of the filming that I like to do, so I might as well try to take advantage of this and do as much shooting at home and as much editing at home, and try to kind of flex my muscles. So similar to last video, we're gonna kind of jump around the office. Again, we're trapped, do a bunch of different lighting scenes, and we're gonna talk about some of the reasons why I want to switch to Resolve. And for the first reason, guys, we're gonna stay right here because you guys can all see it right here. This is the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, which if you buy this camera, guys, and we're doing a whole series comparing the Sony, which is what I'm shooting on right now, to the Blackmagic, to the Panasonic GH5S. And if you're thinking about buying this camera and you're like kind of wanting to do indie filmmaking, doc, whatever the case may be, or you just really like shooting videos, or you have aspirations to make movies someday, you really can't go wrong with this camera. This camera is the first reason I want to switch to Resolve. Blackmagic owns the hardware, they own the cameras, and they own the software, and you get the software for free when you buy this camera, which is like such a deal. When you look at, getting a $300 piece of software with a $1,200 camera, this camera just got even cheaper. And if you don't have editing software, like Resolve is totally gonna be able to do pretty much everything you're gonna wanna be able to do. And so anyway, guys, I got the software for free with this camera. I love this camera, it's beautiful, and I wanna use it more, especially where I'm trapped at home and I can just stick it on a tripod like I did for the intro sequence. It was all shot on this camera. It's gonna be a lot of fun to play with this camera some more, do some color grading, take advantage of the RAW in DaVinci, and just really utilize all of the horsepower out of this camera with DaVinci Resolve. In the past, because I'm shooting on Sonys and Panasonics and all of that, I typically shot ProRes with this camera so that I could edit it all in Final Cut. And guys, again, we're gonna kind of touch on the color grading a bit in this video, but Blackmagic RAW just seems to be a much better codec than ProRes. You get a lot more control, and it just seems like overall I don't know, again, I'm not like a scientist, I'm not a pro, I don't understand all of the color grading a ton, but it just seems like, when I shoot in Blackmagic RAW, even 12:1 compression, I'm getting stuff that just looks way nicer with this camera than when I'm shooting in ProRes. So that's probably just me being biased because I'm like, woohoo, we're shooting in RAW. I think it might be a thing. If someone's smart enough down in the comments who knows how all of this works, let me know. Is that a thing? So guys, that is my first reason on why I want to switch to Resolve. I want to use this camera more and I want to use it to its full potential. Thankfully, I can do B-RAW, Sony, and all my Panasonic cameras all in Resolve. It can handle them all, whereas Final Cut can't do Blackmagic RAW at this time, and to be honest with you, I don't think that it ever will be able to. Apple is really pushing ProRes, and that's fine. ProRes is great, but B-RAW, that's where it's at. Okay, and let's talk reason number 2, why I'm thinking about switching to DaVinci Resolve. Now guys, again, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not a color grading expert. I really should do like a deep dive into the software. That's what I do like for my job full time. So I'm kind of curious what is going on behind the scenes as to why and how certain color grading algorithms are working, right? I mean, you've got your pixel, you've got colors per each pixel. How does, like the color grading wheels and the hue saturation curves and all of those, how do those actually affect the final outcome of an image? Because so far, and again, this is coming from someone with no scientific experience, when it comes to the little amount of, footage and stuff that I've done, for example, with the Sony, with the Blackmagic, with the Panasonic, it just seems like my grades turn out much better when I use it in DaVinci Resolve than Final Cut. And again, I don't know if it's just because the software is better, or if the tools are better or more precise, or what the case may be, but it just seems like when I grade something in DaVinci and I export it, I'm like, oh my goodness, this looks way better than what I would do in Final Cut. And again, it's like, it's the same person, it's me doing the same edits. I don't feel like it should be that much of a difference. And maybe it really isn't, but for someone who looks at footage all the time, I personally see a pretty big difference in just how good I think my DaVinci color grades come out versus my Final Cut grades. We do all, of course, know that DaVinci Resolve is the color grading industry standard. Movies use it, people doing commercial work use it, everyone who's big budget uses it, so there's no secret that it's phenomenal, but I guess I would just be curious to know why it is so much better than, say, the color grading tools in Final Cut, which on paper, they offer a lot of the same tools, a lot of the same ways to meter and analyze how you're color grading. Why is it better? So anyway, again, hard to say, but it just seems like my colors, my exposure, how I'm grading my footage turns out way better when I do it in DaVinci Resolve. So that's my second reason. I'm pulling out my notes. Okay, third reason. Third reason, guys, that I really want to switch to DaVinci Resolve is special effects. Again, watching Jamie Fenn's videos and just watching a ton of Corridor Crew recently, I'm like really interested in seeing if I could learn how to do some visual effects, right? And I did purchase Motion back in the day, so I have software to do special effects with Final Cut, but again, it's kind of like using Premiere with After Effects. Again, I don't have a ton of experience with this particular space, but for those applications, you have to kind of round trip it. You got to send it to After Effects, you got to send it to Motion, do all your edits, render, export, and then use those clips in Final Cut or Premiere. But it just seems like, and this will be a common thread in our next reason, but in DaVinci Resolve, it's all there. It's one inclusive piece of software where you can edit and cut, you can do your audio, you can do your special effects, and it's all in the same place. And that personally sounds really cool, to not have to round trip it to other software, and then I'm able to just use it right in there, do special effects, learn special effects, all in that same editor, and it just seems like a really great, kind of one-stop shop. And with that, guys, reason number 4, which is very similar to the last reason, which is special effects are baked in. Fairlight, which is kind of, DaVinci's audio editing solution, is also baked into DaVinci Resolve. And as someone who has most of their background before doing video editing in, music editing, mixing music, making, I used to play guitar and do all that stuff, most of you know this, but I'm kind of a little bit of an audiophile, and I just want to do more with audio along with special effects. Like edits that have sound design on point just give me the chills. I love baking in delicious, good sounding audio into an edit. And again, with DaVinci Resolve and having Fairlight and all these awesome tools to do audio, it just seems to make a ton of sense to try it. And in my last edit, when I opened it up and I was using it, I was just like, oh, this is beautiful. This looks so good. I love using this. You know, you've got the huge mixing board up top, the video shrinks down to a small little size, and then you have all this space for your audio tracks to really tweak stuff, play with stuff. Like, I was just like, I've died and gone to heaven. This looks like the page that I could spend hours on. And so again, that's what I want to do. I want to, you know, do that page, use audio, and that's my fourth reason for switching is it just seems like the overall audio control is gonna be really nice. And with that, guys, this leads me to my last point, why I want to do, you know, this switch to DaVinci Resolve. Again, I'm very happy with Final Cut. I don't have any like real hard reasons why I would switch. It works great for me. Unlike all of the people who I hear using Premiere who are having crashes and freezes, you know, Resolve might be a great option for you just to have something different that doesn't crash on you all the time, because I found it to be just as stable as Final Cut, and it saves automatically like Final Cut does. So, you know, I don't have like a huge reason other than maybe these small advantages that I listed out earlier, but more than anything, just being in this kind of global situation that we are, I'm trying to find more and more ways to keep my brain working. I've obviously still got my job that's taking up a lot of my time, and you know, we're still trying to make as many YouTube videos as possible, but not being able to go out and shoot is kind of, you know, there is some free time there, and it's just seems like logical sense to try to, you know, keep my brain going, try new things, and just keep things interesting. We're all doing this together, we're stuck inside, and you know, it just seems like a cool time to try something different, and you know, that's one of my main, if not the main reason for doing this. And guys, that is all I have for you today. If you're new around here, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. It does help, and then you'll be notified to watch the rest of the videos. Again, we're gonna be doing another video talking about DaVinci Resolve as I use it more and more. Maybe we'll do a couple videos, kind of split this out, just like we're doing with the Sony versus Blackmagic versus Panasonic video. That'll be episodic and continuous. And again, that was also done in DaVinci Resolve, and the future ones will likely be done in DaVinci Resolve. But that's all I've got for you guys. Stay safe, be smart, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.